Hello everyone, my name is Iris and today I will be creating a watercolor painting representing a fox spirit. A fox spirit is a mythological creature found in the folklore of several Asian countries. Fox spirits and other versions of the nine-tailed fox myths and folklores share a similar concept. Fox spirits are ancient supernatural entities who have the power of shapeshifting, usually appearing in the guise of a woman. The Kitsune is the Japanese version of this mythological entity. In Japanese folklore, newborn kitsunes could be easily mistaken for their regular fox's counterparts. They gain their magical looks and powers over time. Every 100 years, a kitsune grows a new tail. He can have up to 9 tails in total. In his later years, his red fur might begin to turn gold, then, finally white when his 9th tail grows. These magical foxes love to take human form. But no matter what shape a kitsune takes, there will always be one giveaway. He must keep his hoshi no tama, a glowing ball or iridescent gem, with him at all times. The ball contains his soul, and without it he will grow powerless and die. I want my creation to show the two sides of a kitsune, its human and fox forms. I try to make the human form beautiful, wearing a simple kimono with no accessories as she's ready to turn into her fox form. Of course, she's holding her hoshi no tama in her right hand. To start the background, I protected the outline of the drawing with masking fluid, and for the rest of the drawing I taped some paper with masking tape onto the whole area. I knew I wanted to do the background with a wet-on-wet technique and wanted to avoid accidents. I am cautious with masking liquid because it tends to damage the paper. This way, at least the main elements of my drawing were not compromised with the masking fluid. Once everything was protected, I painted the background with different shades of blue, a bit of purple, and a lot of water. After that, I proceeded with the first layers of watercolors. In this case, starting with the leaves and the flowers. With the leaves, I started with terre verte color, which is a very desaturated green shade, as the leaves are in the background. But as you will see later, as time went by, the leaves became way more saturated. For the flowers, I used quinacridone violet. I started painting the tails with an orange shade, reinforcing the contrast of the background. I wanted to keep the tip of the tails white, as that's how regular foxes' tails are, but of course, the first thing I did was to paint the tip of the first tail orange. And you know that with watercolor you have to preserve the whites, so I already messed up from the start. And I almost messed up twice when starting the second tail. Luckily, I remembered before it was too late. As for the first tail, I fixed my mistake later with white gouache. On the fox, I applied 2 layers from the beginning to intensify the color, one of orange and the other with yellow ochre. After I finished the first layer of the background, tails, and the fox, I proceeded with the skin of the human form of my kitsune. I used Naples yellow red for the base of the skin. I usually mix my own skin tones, but sometimes when I'm lazy, I use Naples Yellow Red as a base for light skin tones. Once I was done, I went on with applying color on the kimono. I decided that I wanted to keep the color that is traditionally used in Kitsune representations, so that is why I chose red. However, I realized the watercolor reds I had were not vibrant enough, and luckily, I found that I had bought something else that you'll see later on, which helped me improve the intensity of the red. To paint the hair, I never used black the whole way through. I went on with multiple layers of Payne's gray for almost the whole thing. I avoided black and used only a tiny bit on the eyes. I am now doing the second layer on the flowers and the leaves, and as you can see, it really helps intensify the colors. For the leaves, this time I used sap green, which is more saturated and yellowish than the terre verte green shade that I started with. For the second layer on the kimono, I initially wanted a dark bright red, so I bought cadmium red deep. When first applied, the color was gorgeous and exactly what I wanted. However, when drying, the color shifts to a dried blood color, which is kind of brownish and not vibrant enough. I then realized I had bought on sale a set of ink brush pans from Sennelier, which are pigment-based ink brushes, and in this set there was a bright red. So I tried it and it did the job. I was actually really happy, as it was very intense and I thought the color was beautiful. So kudos for that. Not exactly what I had in mind, but close enough. After the kimono, I continued applying a second layer everywhere, redefining things a bit more, the leg wraps, all the gray areas. And then redefining details around the face and hair. Talking about hair, as you may have noticed, you can see pieces of my hair peeking out from time to time on the screen. Sorry about that. I will make sure to wear something to hold my flying around hair, a hairband or something, to prevent that in the future. Even though I tried not to have my head in the way, my hair did whatever it wanted. Back to the painting. I started detailing the fox, and this was my favorite part of the whole process. I usually love painting women, but there I really enjoyed painting the fox. I realized that I actually really like painting and drawing animals. To the exception of tigers, I have no idea why, but each time I try to draw a tiger, it does not go well. And tigers are one of my favorite animals, but for some reason I suck at drawing them. Do you have a specific animal that you really struggle to draw even though you like it? Here I was trying to add shadows to my human character, but I was not really inspired with the shadow tones. I usually pre-prepare my shadow colors, but this time I don't know what the hell I did, but the tones were wrong and I'm not really happy with the shadows on my human character. I had to fix the colors on the face with Polychromos color pencils. I don't have any footage of the fix. Luckily, the end result is okay, but her face is not my favorite thing ever. I continued with more details on the tails. What a tongue twister! I wanted something very stylized and airy, and I was on a roll. The only problem is that at this moment my camera went out of battery because I'm using my phone to record. And yeah, I lost a lot of footage of painting the details, so sorry about that. One thing to know about this piece is that it was originally supposed to be an oil painting because I'm trying to start painting with oil again as I haven't done that in a long while. However, as I was drawing the concept and I was drawing the tails in particular, I don't know why, I was imagining it with watercolor. I wanted this light, airy effect that I managed to get right here, and that's why I switched and decided to use watercolors instead. Oil painting for some reason seems heavier in its end results, to me at least. In terms of colors, I used burnt sienna and rose madder genuine to define the fur on the tails. I added shadows with a wash of Payne's Gray over the kimono. Yes, Payne's Gray is the star of this piece, it seems. Finally, I fixed the tip of the first tail with white gouache. By the end of this piece, I started fixing things with my Polychromos color pencils. The color of the leaves in particular was a bit patchy because since I used masking fluid, it did damage the paper a bit. So I ended up pulling out my Polychromos and tried to conceal the patchiness. I started applying a yellow-green shade all over, then applied different hues of blues for the shadows and yellow for the highlights. Regarding the flowers, I tried to intensify their saturation as well as adding more color nuances. I used bright pink, orange, purple, yellow, and a creamy color. At this point, I realized one thing. I love the color of the tails, but everything was just too saturated and there was not enough difference in value between the foreground and the background. The fox in particular was not standing out enough, so I had to do something to push back all the tails in the background. I tried to give a sense of shadow to those tails by applying a wash of Payne's Gray and Indigo. For the final touches, I used a yellow Polychromos to help details stand out a bit more. And well, a little bit of purple. And that's it. This is the final result. As I'm being inspired by another culture than my own, I try to do my creation in a respectful way. I did take some artistic liberties as it's my own interpretation, but I hope I did justice to the original idea. I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. If you did, let me know by liking this video. And if you want to see more of my creations, subscribe. I wish you a nice day, night, Whatever the time you're watching this, if you're watching this until the end, stay healthy. Thank you. Goodbye.